The Drixari homeworld hung in space like a jewel, blue and green and beautiful. 3 billion people lived there, civilians, families, children. None of them had chosen this war. Admiral Taiwan stood on the bridge of Indomitable, surrounded by a fleet of 5,000 ships. Enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Enough soldiers to occupy a world. But that wasn't why they had come. "Open a channel," Taiwan ordered. "Broadcast to the entire planet." His face appeared on every screen, every display, every communication device on the world below. Drixari citizens stopped what they were doing and watched. "People of the Drixari homeworld, I am Admiral Taiwan of the Human Defense Fleet. We have not come to conquer you. We have not come to harm you. We have come to end a war that your leadership started but cannot finish." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Chancellor Vex ordered attacks on our colonies. Ordered the use of weapons of mass destruction against civilians. Ordered atrocities that violate every law of civilized warfare. We could respond in kind. We could bombard your cities from orbit. We could do to you what Vex tried to do to us." Another pause. Fear rippled through the planet below. "We will not, because we are not him. We are not conquerors. We are defenders. And now we offer you a choice. Surrender Vex to stand trial for his crimes. Allow our forces to land peacefully, or refuse and we will take him anyway. But we will do everything in our power to avoid harming innocent people. The choice is yours. You have 12 hours." The transmission ended. On the planet, chaos erupted. Some wanted to fight, die for the Empire, die with honor. But most people just wanted the war to end. They were tired. Tired of food shortages. Tired of losing family members in a war light years away. Tired of propaganda that promised victory while defeat surrounded them. Chancellor Vex watched from his underground command bunker, 20 levels below the capital city, surrounded by his most loyal guards. He had planned for this. Had prepared. "They'll never take me alive," he told his staff. "We'll fight to the last. Make them pay for every meter." But his guards were looking at each other, calculating odds, wondering if dying for Vex was worth it. 10 hours into the deadline, something unexpected happened. Drixari military officers staged a coup. Not violent, just practical. They simply arrested Vex and his inner circle, bound them, and sent a message to the humans. "We have your war criminal. Come take him. Just please, no more fighting." Admiral Taiwan received the message and allowed himself a small smile. "Captain Hana, prepare a shuttle. We're going down." "Sir, it could be a trap." "It could be, but sometimes you have to take risks for peace." He landed with a small security team at the capital's main military base. Drixari soldiers lined the landing field, weapons lowered. They looked exhausted, defeated, relieved. A Drixari general approached, scales dull with age and stress. "Admiral, Chancellor Vex is yours. We ask only that you treat him fairly, and that you allow our world to surrender with dignity." Taiwan looked at the general, saw a soldier who understood that wars must end eventually. "Your surrender is accepted," Taiwan said. "Your people will be treated with respect. Your military will be demilitarized, not destroyed. Your economy will be helped, not crushed. We're not here to punish a population for their leaders' crimes." Vex was brought out in restraints, still defiant. "You think this is over?" "The Empire will rise again. We will—" "Be quiet," the Drixari general told him. "You've done enough damage." Vex was taken aboard a human ship bound for trial. The war was effectively over. 26 months of conflict. Millions dead. Entire fleets destroyed. All because one species refused to admit that humans had rights. But the hard work was just beginning. Premier Insu arrived on the Drixari homeworld 3 days later. He walked through the capital city, surrounded by both human and Drixari security. People watched from windows, uncertain what to expect. He stopped at a memorial to Drixari soldiers who had died in the war. Laid a wreath, bowed his head in respect. They were soldiers following orders, Insu told the cameras. They were not our enemies. They were victims of the same corrupt leadership we fought against. We honor their service even as we condemn those who misused it. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything to people who had been taught that humans were monsters. Ambassador Jihu returned from Earth to help negotiate the peace. He worked with Ambassador Myung and representatives from 30 species to draft a new galactic charter. No more tribunals, Jihu proposed. No more small groups deciding everyone's fate. We need a democratic assembly. 1 vote per species. Decisions made by consensus. Power balanced, there was resistance, of course. Some species liked the old system where might made right. But most were tired of living under the threat of empires. The Galactic Assembly was formed 6 months after the war ended. Its first act was to formally recognize the Free Worlds Alliance as a legitimate government. Its second act was to establish universal laws of warfare, based largely on human military codes. No attacks on civilians. No weapons of mass destruction. No torture. No collective punishment. War crimes would be prosecuted by an independent court. Justice would apply to everyone equally. General Dae-hyun oversaw the demilitarization of the Drixari Empire, but it wasn't cruel. Human engineers helped convert military factories to civilian production. Shipyards that built warships now built cargo vessels. Soldiers were given training for new careers. "We're not here to keep you defeated," Dae-hyun explained to Drixari officials. "We're here to make sure you can't start another war, but we also want you to prosper. A prosperous neighbor is better than a desperate one." Dr. Yoo-jin faced a difficult choice. Her weapons had won the war, but now there was peace. Should we share our technology? Her staff asked. Some of it, Yoo-jin decided. Defensive systems. Medical advances. Technology that helps, not harms. But our most destructive weapons stay secret. Let them know we have them. Let that deter future conflicts. But don't give everyone the means to start wars. It was a delicate balance. Too much secrecy would breed suspicion. Too much openness would spread dangerous technology. Yoo-jin chose transparency about capability without revealing methodology. Private Tae-yang returned home after 2 years of service. He was 21 now, but his eyes looked older. He had killed people, watched friends die, experienced things that would never fully leave him. His journal was published as a book. Letters from the Front, A Human Soldier's War. It became required reading in schools across dozens of worlds. Not because it glorified war, because it showed war's true cost. Tae-yang spent his time speaking at veteran centers, helping other soldiers adjust to peace. "We did what we had to do," he told them. "We protected our homes, showed the galaxy what humans are capable of, but now we have to show them what we're capable of in peace. That's just as important." Captain Hana was promoted to admiral, taking command of Earth's defense fleet. She implemented the lessons learned during the war, creating training programs that other species asked to join. "We'll teach you what we know," Hana told them. "Not to make you weapons, to make you survivors. The galaxy needs species who can defend themselves without becoming aggressors." The war crimes trials lasted 3 years. Chancellor Vex and his inner circle faced justice. The evidence was overwhelming. The sentences were harsh but fair. Life imprisonment for Vex. Lesser sentences for those who had followed orders under duress. The trials were broadcast across the galaxy, showing that accountability mattered. That even in victory, humans sought justice, not vengeance. 10 years after the war ended, Hee-jin stood before the Galactic Assembly. She was 18 now, a survivor of the attack on Jeju outpost. She had lived in bunkers while battles raged overhead, lost friends to the war. Now she addressed the galaxy as the youngest representative in the assembly. "I was 8 when the war started," she said. "I remember being scared. Remember not understanding why people wanted to hurt us. My generation grew up in shelters while our parents fought to protect us." She paused, looking around the vast chamber filled with dozens of species. "But we also grew up learning something important, that different species can work together, that enemies can become friends, that justice is more powerful than revenge. I don't want my children to grow up the way I did. I want them to grow up in a galaxy where conflicts are resolved through discussion, not destruction." The chamber was silent. Humanity showed the galaxy how to wage war. Now let us show you how to maintain peace. It's harder. It takes more courage. But it's worth it. The assembly erupted in applause. Not just humans. Drixari, Veloth, Ilithians. Even some Lumenth Admiral Tae-wan retired shortly after returning to Earth. He was 70 years old, gray and tired but satisfied. He had done what he set out to do. Protected humanity. Waged war justly. Helped build peace. He visited the memorial to the war dead. Human and alien names carved in stone together. Thousands of them. Too many. Was it worth it? A reporter asked him. Tae-wan thought for a long moment. "The war? No, war is never worth it." "But what came after?" "Yes, we built something better. A galaxy where might doesn't make right. where small species have voices, where rules apply to everyone. That was worth the cost. What about the message? The reporter pressed. The one you sent before it all started. Since you chose war, let us demonstrate how it's done. Looking back, what did you mean? 18 months had passed since the war began. The galaxy looked different now. The once mighty Drixari Empire was crumbling. The Veloth swarm remained fractured and fighting itself, and humanity controlled key strategic positions across 3 sectors of space. Private Tai Yang sat in a trench on a contested moon, writing in his journal. He was 19 years old, fresh from training, and had seen things that would haunt him forever. Why do we keep pushing forward? He wrote. Every battle we win just leads to another battle. The Drixari won't surrender. They can't accept that they lost to humans. So we keep fighting. Keep capturing bases. Keep taking prisoners. And I keep wondering when it will end. He looked up as explosions lit the sky. Another Drexori counterattack. Another group of soldiers who believed their empire's propaganda that humans were weak, defeatable. Just one more push away from breaking. Contact, someone shouted. Northeast Ridge. Tai Yang grabbed his rifle and moved to his position. He didn't want to kill anyone today. He hadn't wanted to kill anyone any day. But the Drixari kept coming, kept attacking, kept dying for an empire that was already finished. The battle was brief. Human defensive positions were too strong, too well planned. The Drexari retreated after 30 minutes, leaving their wounded behind. As always, human medics treated enemy casualties the same as their own. As always, Drexari prisoners looked shocked to receive proper food and medical care. They still don't believe we're not monsters, Tai Yang wrote later. Even after all this time, they expect torture and execution. Instead, we give them bandages and hot meals. I think that confuses them more than anything. Far above, Captain Bora commanded retribution in the Battle of Crimson Nebula. The Drexari had assembled their second fleet here, 300 ships trying to break through human lines and reach reinforcements. All ships, Formation Theta, Bora ordered. Use the nebula's radiation to mask our approach. Human vessels slipped through the glowing gas clouds like sharks in bloody water. The Drexari knew they were there but couldn't get clear sensor readings. Every shadow might be a ship. Every radiation spike might be weapons charging. Bora had studied ancient Earth naval battles. She understood the value of terrain, even in space. The nebula wasn't just decoration. It was a weapon if you knew how to use it. Enemy flagship located, her sensor officer reported. Bearing 270. Target all fire on their command ship, Bora said. No kill shots. Disable only. We want their admiral alive. The human fleet emerged from the nebula simultaneously, surrounding the Drexari formation. Precise fire destroyed engines and weapons but avoided reactors and life support. Within 2 hours, the entire Drexari second fleet was crippled and drifting, not destroyed, captured. 300 ships and 50,000 Drexari personnel became prisoners of war. It was the largest single capture in the entire conflict. Admiral Tai Wan toured the captured vessels personally. He walked through corridors filled with defeated enemy soldiers, all watching him with fear and confusion. You are prisoners, he announced through translators. You will be treated according to the laws of war. You will receive food, shelter, and medical care. When this war ends, you will be returned to your people. Any who wish to cooperate will be treated fairly. Any who cause trouble will be confined but not harmed. Do you understand? The Drexari didn't answer. They just stared. Their propaganda had told them humans were brutal savages who tortured prisoners. Reality didn't match the story. Meanwhile, humanity's diplomatic efforts bore unexpected fruit. Ambassador Mi Young stood before the Elythian Concord, one of the galaxy's major neutral powers. Counselor Rin, leader of the Elythians, studied the evidence Mi Young had presented. Documents, recordings, testimony from liberated worlds. You make a compelling case, Rin said slowly. The Drexari's actions were unjust from the beginning. Your response, while devastating, has been proportional and honorable. Then will the Concord support us? Mi Young asked. We will do more than that. We will formally recognize humanity's cause as just, and we will offer mediation services when you're ready to negotiate peace. It was a diplomatic breakthrough. The Elythians were respected across the galaxy. Their endorsement meant other neutral species would reconsider their positions, but not everyone wanted peace. Deep in Drexari space, Chancellor Vex refused to accept reality. His empire was collapsing. His economy had crashed under the strain of total war. His military was defeated in every engagement. But pride wouldn't let him surrender. "We prepare the final option," he told his remaining advisors. "Chancellor, you can't mean—" "I do. If we cannot defeat the humans, we will make them pay such a price that the entire galaxy will turn against them." He authorized deployment of the Empire's most terrible weapons, not just bioweapons, planet killers, weapons so destructive they had been banned by every civilized species for 1,000 years. Commander June's intelligence network detected the order immediately. "Sir, Drexari High Command is moving restricted weapons from storage. Confirm planet killers." General Daehyun felt cold fury. "Where are they targeting?" "Human colonies. Specifically colonies with the highest civilian populations. Intercept them. Use whatever force necessary." The mission went to Colonel Hyunwoo's Special Forces. They tracked the weapon convoy through Drexari space, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The convoy stopped at a remote supply station to refuel. Hyunwoo's team hit them there fast and brutal. They killed the guards who resisted, captured those who surrendered, and secured the weapons intact. All devices accounted for, Hyunwoo reported. 0 detonations, bringing them back for evidence. When the galaxy learned that the Drexari had attempted to use planet killers against civilian targets, the political fallout was catastrophic. Even the Lumenth Collective, which had remained officially neutral while quietly supporting the Drexari, withdrew from the coalition entirely. Elder Kale of the Lumenth made a public statement. "We were wrong. We believed the old order must be maintained at all costs. But the old order was corrupt. Humanity has shown us that strength and honor can coexist. That war can be waged justly. We were fools to oppose them. The Galactic Tribunal fractured completely. What had been the galaxy's governing body for 3,000 years collapsed in weeks. Some species supported the Drexari out of loyalty or fear. Others supported humanity out of justice or pragmatism. Most simply withdrew, declaring neutrality and hoping to avoid the conflict. Ambassador Mi Young worked tirelessly to build something new from the chaos. She contacted every species that humanity had liberated from Drexari occupation, dozens of worlds that had suffered under the Empire's rule for centuries. "Join us," she told them. "Not as subjects, as equals. We'll form a new alliance, one based on mutual defense and shared prosperity. No more tribunals deciding your fate. No more empires taking your resources." They called it the Free Worlds Alliance. It started with 10 species. Within months, it grew to 30. These were small civilizations, ones the Drexari had bullied for generations. Now they saw a chance for something better. Private Tae Yang's journal entries were published on human networks. People read his honest accounts of war's brutality and humanity's attempts to maintain honor despite it. "Today we captured a Drexari forward base," one entry read. "The commander tried to blow it up rather than surrender. We stopped him, saved his soldiers' lives. He called us fools for showing mercy. Maybe we are, but I'd rather be a fool with honor than a victor with none." The entries went viral. Aliens read them too, seeing war through a human soldier's eyes. Seeing the doubts, the fears, the determination to do the right thing even when it was hard. Admiral Tae-Wan prepared for the final operation. General Daehyun's ground forces, Captain Bo-Ra's fleet, Colonel Hyunwoo's special operations teams, all converging on one target, the Drexari homeworld. "This is it," Taiwan told his senior officers. "We end this war. We capture Vex. We show the galaxy that justice exists, and then we build something better from the ashes." "And if they fight to the last?" Captain Hana asked. "Then we'll keep showing mercy until they understand we mean it. We didn't start this war to become conquerors. We started it to protect our homes. Let's finish it the same way." The fleet assembled. Thousands of ships, hundreds of thousands of soldiers, all preparing for the largest military operation in human history. But this wasn't an invasion. It was a rescue mission. They were going to save the Drexari from their own leadership. Whether the Drexari understood that or not. Back in his trench, Private Taeyang closed his journal and looked at the stars. "One more battle," he whispered. "Just one more. Then maybe we can stop being soldiers and remember how to be human again." The turning point had passed. The war's outcome was decided. Now came the hardest part, winning in a way that made the victory worth having. Representatives from 40 species filled the chamber, all talking at once. Fear filled the air like smoke. Chancellor Vex stood before them, scales dull with shame. He had escaped the Battle of New Seoul on a lifeboat, watching his fleet die behind him. "I demand the full might of the coalition," he shouted. "Humanity must be destroyed before they destroy us all." Queen Hive Mother Thesix of the Veloth clicked her agreement. "They are dangerous. They hide weapons. They use deception. This cannot be tolerated." But other voices rose in opposition. Small species, ones who had been bullied by the Drexari for centuries, asked quiet questions. Did humanity attack first? Were they not defending their own colonies? Have they harmed civilians? Vex's face twisted. That doesn't matter. They defied the tribunal. They must be punished. On Earth, Ambassador Mi Young watched the broadcast. She was Jihu's replacement, chosen because she understood something he didn't. Sometimes peace required strength to back it up. "They're going to authorize full war," her aide said. "Let them," Mi Young replied. "Admiral Taewon is ready, and I have my own plans." She opened a channel to every independent news network in the galaxy, not the official coalition broadcasts. The real journalists, the ones who asked uncomfortable questions. "I have evidence," she transmitted. "Evidence of tribunal corruption, of Drexari mining operations in neutral space, of bribes and threats. I'm releasing everything. Let the galaxy see who really started this war." Files flooded the networks, documents, recordings, financial records. All of it showed the same thing. The Drexari had wanted human colonies for their resources. The tribunal had been paid to look the other way. The entire conflict was built on lies. Some species tried to suppress the information. But it was too late. Truth spread faster than they could contain it. While diplomacy worked one angle, Admiral Taewon prepared to work another. He stood on the bridge of Indomitable, studying a tactical map of Drexari space. Captain Hana, present Operation Severance. Hana stepped forward, projecting a hologram. "Sir, the Drexari have 6 major military installations. Shipyards, training centers, command bunkers. If we destroy these, they cannot wage war effectively. Casualties? Minimal if we're precise. These are military targets. We evacuate civilians first. Strike at night when bases have reduced personnel. Use surgical strikes, not bombardment. And you can guarantee no civilian deaths?" "I can guarantee we'll try harder than they did, sir." Taewon nodded slowly. "Begin the operation. And remember, we're not monsters. Every enemy soldier who surrenders gets fair treatment. Every civilian who flees gets safe passage. We're teaching them how war is done. Let's show them honor exists even in combat." Colonel Hyunwoo led the first strike. He commanded a special operations team of 50 soldiers, all volunteers, all trained for impossible missions. Their target was Drexari Central Command, located on the homeworld capital city. They approached in a captured Drexari ship. Not stolen, captured. There was a difference. They had legally salvaged it from New Seoul, repaired it, and now used it. Everything by the book. 5 minutes to target, the pilot said. Hyunwoo checked his equipment. Light armor. Non-lethal weapons as primary. Lethal as backup. Their mission wasn't to kill. It was to embarrass. They landed at a commercial spaceport, walked right through security using hacked credentials, took a public transport to within 3 blocks of Central Command. Nobody noticed. Nobody suspected. "This is too easy," one soldier whispered. "They've never had to defend their homeworld," Hyunwoo replied. "They don't know how." At midnight, they struck. 50 humans against a command center protected by 500 guards. It should have been suicide. But humans had spent 10,000 years figuring out how to win unfair fights. They used the darkness, used confusion, used the Drexari's own security systems against them. They cut power to entire sections, locked doors remotely, filled corridors with smoke, created chaos. And in that chaos, they moved like ghosts. When power returned 30 minutes later, 50 humans stood in the central command room. Around them, confused Drexari officers sat with their hands bound. Not a single death. Just a lot of very embarrassed military leaders. Colonel Hyunwoo activated the main communication system, broadcasting to the entire Drexari homeworld. "People of the Drexari Empire, we are human special forces. We have captured your central command without firing a shot. We could have destroyed this building. We could have killed everyone inside. We chose not to. Remember that. Your leaders wanted war. We're showing them what war means. But we're also showing mercy, something they never showed us," he set a timer. "We're leaving now. In 5 minutes, your people will be free. Think carefully about whether you want this war to continue." The team vanished into the night, extracted by stealth ships before Drexari military could respond. By morning, the entire galaxy knew. Humanity had struck the Drexari homeworld and left without losing a single soldier. Chancellor Vex watched the broadcast in his emergency bunker. His hands shook with rage and fear. If humans could reach Central Command, they could reach anywhere, including where he was hiding. At the same time, Commander June's cyber warfare teams executed their own operation. The Veloth swarm communicated through quantum networks, coordinating millions of individuals into a unified force. Brilliant technology, but like all technology, it could be hacked. Initiating virus upload, June's lead programmer said. They didn't destroy the network. That would be too obvious. Instead, they corrupted it, made messages arrive late, made orders contradictory, made coordination impossible. The Veloth swarm, which had operated as one mind for 3,000 years, suddenly fractured. Individual hives couldn't communicate. Sub-queens made conflicting decisions. The mighty swarm became dozens of confused groups, each acting independently. Virus successful, the programmer reported. Veloth military effectiveness reduced by 70%. June allowed himself a small smile. Good. Now they know what it feels like to be cut off and isolated. Human fleets pressed their advantage. Captain Bora, commanding the new carrier Retribution, led Task Force 7 deep into Drexari territory. They didn't attack planets. They attacked military infrastructure. Shipyards producing warships found their construction docks disabled, not destroyed. Drexari workers were allowed to evacuate. Then human engineers would sabotage the equipment so thoroughly it would take years to repair. Training centers where Drexari soldiers learned combat received warnings. Evacuate in 2 hours or be destroyed. Every time the Drexari evacuated. Then human missiles leveled the empty buildings, supply depots, communication relays, fuel refineries, all military targets, all given warnings, all struck with precision that left nearby civilians untouched. Why do we warn them? A young officer asked Bora. Because we're not trying to kill Drexari, she explained. We're trying to end their ability to make war. There's a difference. Every soldier who survives today might refuse to fight tomorrow. Every civilian who sees us spare their lives might question their leaders. The strategy worked. 3 months into the war, cracks appeared in the Drexari Empire. Outer colonies began surrendering without a fight. Some even welcomed human forces as liberators tired of Drexari rule. General Daehyun documented everything. Every battle. Every surrender. Every act of mercy. He made sure recordings were sent to every species in the galaxy. Let them see, he told his staff. Let them see we're not conquerors. We're defenders who got pushed too far. Ambassador Mi-young continued her information campaign. She personally visited neutral species, showing them evidence of Drexari crimes, showing them human restraint. We didn't want this war, she told the Alithian Council. We tried everything to avoid it. But now that we're fighting, we're doing it the right way. Military targets, minimal casualties, honor in combat. Can the Drexari say the same? They couldn't. Because while humans targeted bases and infrastructure, desperate Drexari commanders had started using banned weapons, bioweapons, chemical attacks. Weapons designed to kill civilians. General Daehyun intercepted one such convoy. Instead of destroying it, he captured it intact. Captured the weapons, captured the crews, captured the orders authorizing their use. Send this to every news network, he ordered. Let the galaxy see who the real monsters are. The evidence showed clearly. Drexari High Command had authorized bioweapons against human colonies. Weapons that would have killed millions, women, children, elderly, everyone. The galaxy reacted with horror. Even species that had supported the Drexari began pulling back. Nobody wanted to be associated with genocide. Queen Hive Mother Thesix saw the tide turning. She tried to negotiate secretly with humanity, offering the Veloth's withdrawal from the war in exchange for help restoring their communication networks. But Chancellor Vex discovered the betrayal. In a rage, he ordered her execution broadcast across Veloth space. The swarm, already fractured, exploded into civil war. Different hives chose different sides. The once mighty Veloth military turned on itself. Admiral Taewon watched the chaos and felt no satisfaction. Just weariness. They're tearing themselves apart, Captain Hana observed. Yes, Taewon said quietly. That's what happens when a society built on domination faces real opposition. It collapses inward. We need to end this quickly before more people die needlessly. How, sir? Chancellor Vex stared at his tactical display in confusion. The human ships just floated there, not moving, not shooting. 500 Drexari vessels faced 3,000 human ones, but the humans did nothing. "They're afraid," Vex said. "They show numbers but have no courage to fight. All ships, advance and fire at will." The Drexari fleet surged forward. Energy weapons charged. Missile tubes opened. They targeted human defense platforms orbiting New Sol first. Easy targets, stationary, predictable. The platforms exploded beautifully. Vex smiled. "See? They have nothing." "Continue the assault," but something was wrong. His sensor officer's face had gone pale. "Sir, those platforms—" They were empty, no crew. No power signatures before they were hit. They were decoys. What? The real defense platforms just activated. "Behind us!" Vex spun around to look at his rear display. 50 massive stations had appeared from nowhere, positioned perfectly behind his fleet. They had been dark, silent, invisible. Now they blazed with power. "How did we not see them?" Vex shouted. The answer came in the form of railgun fire. Unlike energy weapons, railguns made no charge-up signature, no warning. Solid metal slugs moving at a significant fraction of light speed simply appeared and punched through Drexari shields like they weren't there. 3 ships exploded in the first salvo. Admiral Taiwan watched from the bridge of his flagship, indomitable. He stood with his hands behind his back, calm and still. "All ships begin pattern Delta," he ordered. Captain Hana worked at her station, coordinating the attack. Pattern Delta confirmed. Engaging now. The human fleet split into small groups. 10 ships here, 20 there, 5 somewhere else. They moved in ways that Drexari had never seen. Unpredictable, chaotic. But it wasn't chaos. It was carefully planned disorder. Each human ship knew exactly what to do. They had practiced this for years. Drexari vessels tried to lock weapons, but human ships never stayed in one place. They scattered, regrouped, scattered again. Lieutenant Sua led a fighter squadron from the carrier Phoenix. Her small craft screamed through space at speeds that made Drexari pilots sick just watching. She didn't engage directly. Instead, she released swarms of drones. "Drones away," she reported, going to AI control. The drones weren't large, weren't heavily armed, but they didn't need to be. They simply crashed into Drexari ships at high velocity. Kamikaze attacks. A tactic so old and so brutal that the Drexari had never prepared for it because no civilized species would waste resources like that. Except humans weren't wasting anything. The drones cost almost nothing to make, and each one took down shields, damaged sensors, or created openings for the real weapons. "Sir, we're losing ships," the Drexari tactical officer reported. 20 destroyed. 50 more damaged. Vex couldn't believe it. His fleet was the pride of the Empire. They had conquered 100 worlds. How were these humans fighting? Then the missiles came, not from ships, from asteroids. The humans had hollowed out rocks in the asteroid belt years ago and filled them with missiles. Silent, patient, waiting. Now, they launched everything. Thousands of missiles crossed the battlefield in perfect coordination. The AI systems controlling them adjusted course every microsecond, predicting where Drexari ships would be, not where they were. The aliens' point defense systems fired frantically, but for every missile they destroyed, 3 more got through. Commander June sat in a dark room on Earth watching data streams flow across his screens. He was intelligence, not a fighter. His war was different. Target confirmed, his analyst said. Veloth Supply Convoy Sector 7. June typed commands. Light years away, sleeper agents activated. Humans who had lived among aliens for decades. Trusted, invisible. They didn't kill anyone. They just sabotaged fuel stores, corrupted navigation data, sent false reports. The Veloth convoy carrying reinforcements and supplies for the Drexari suddenly found itself lost in empty space with no fuel to reach anywhere important. Convoy neutralized, June reported. They'll drift for weeks before anyone finds them. Back at New Sol, the battle had been raging for 6 hours. Vex had started with 500 ships. He now had less than 200 operational. The humans had lost 12. 12 out of 3,000. "This is impossible," Vex whispered. "Their technology isn't that superior. How are they doing this?" His aide had no answer. The truth was simple but brutal. Human technology was only slightly better, but human tactics were centuries ahead. These aliens had fought ceremonial battles where fleets lined up and exchanged fire until one side retreated. Honor duels in space. Humans had fought world wars. They understood combined arms, asymmetric warfare, psychological operations, logistics, deception. They had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other, and had only stopped when they unified. But they hadn't forgotten how. "Pull back," Vex finally ordered. "Retreat to the rally point." The Drixari fleet turned to run. That's when Dr. Eugen's real masterpiece activated. She sat in a laboratory on Mars, watching her life's work perform perfectly. She had designed weapon systems that didn't just shoot, they thought. They learned. They predicted. "Activating grid pattern Omega," she said calmly. In space around New Sol, a web of satellites suddenly became visible. They had been there all along, disguised as debris, asteroids, ice chunks. Now they revealed themselves and formed a net of interlocking fire zones. The retreating Drexari ships ran straight into it. Energy beams crisscrossed space with mathematical precision. The AI controlling them calculated every trajectory, every possible escape route, and placed fire exactly where it needed to be. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was an execution. "Cease fire," Admiral Taiwan ordered. "Offer them surrender." The surviving Drexari ships, less than 100 now, stopped. They powered down weapons. They had no choice. Vex sat in his command chair, broken. In one day, humanity had destroyed the most powerful fleet the Drexari had sent into battle in 200 years. His career was over. His empire's reputation was shattered. "Incoming transmission," his officer said quietly. Taiwan appeared on screen again. He looked exactly the same as before. Calm, professional. "Chancellor Vex, you and your surviving crew will be treated according to the laws of war. Medical care for your wounded. Food and shelter for prisoners. You will not be tortured or abused. This is how humans conduct warfare." Vex said nothing. What could he say? "I'm sending this message to the entire Galactic Coalition," Taiwan continued. "You attacked us. You came to take our homes. You threatened our families. And in one day we destroyed your fleet." He paused. "This was day 1. If you continue this war, there will be a day 2. And a day 3, for as long as it takes." The transmission ended. On New Sol, Sung Ho emerged from the bunkers with thousands of other colonists. Above them, human ships patrolled the sky. In orbit, captured Drixari vessels sat surrounded by guards. Not a single human civilian had been harmed. "We won?" someone asked. Sung Ho looked up at the stars. "We survived. The war is just beginning." He was right. Across the galaxy, species watched the recordings of the Battle of New Sol. Some were horrified, some were thoughtful, and some began to wonder if they had been on the wrong side. The Drexari Empire had poked a sleeping giant. Now humanity was awake, and the galaxy would learn what that meant. General Dae-hyun reviewed the battle reports. 93% enemy casualties, 2% human losses. It was almost too perfect. "Sir, orders for the next phase?" his aide asked. Dae-hyun pulled up star maps showing Drexari territory. "We take the war to them. Not their civilians, their military bases, their shipyards, their command centers. We show them that nowhere is safe. We show them what total war means. And the other species? We show them too. We show everyone what happens when you force humans to fight. Maybe then they'll understand why we tried so hard to avoid this." Admiral Taiwan prepared his next message to the coalition. It would be simple, direct. You wanted war. This is day 1. Surrender now or learn how many days we can keep going. The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because every day you don't, we demonstrate a little more of what 200 years of peace allowed us to build. He sent the message and turned to Captain Hana. "Where do we strike next?" She smiled grimly. "Everywhere, sir. We strike everywhere." The Galactic Tribunal met in emergency session. The conference room was silent. Ambassador Ji-Hoo stood before the massive council chamber, watching 3 alien species decide humanity's fate. The Drexari Chancellor sat in the center, his scaled face twisted in what might have been a smile. On his left, the Veloth Queen clicked her mandibles rhythmically. On his right, the Lumenth Elder glowed with cold blue light. Ji-Hoo had presented all the evidence. Mining records, survey logs, legal documents proving human colonies had rightful claim to the disputed territories. None of it mattered. "The tribunal has decided," the Drexari Chancellor announced. "Humanity will surrender 3 colony worlds. You will pay 2 trillion credits in reparations. You have 30 days. Ji-Hoo felt his hand shake. "Chancellor, this is unjust." We have done nothing wrong. Those worlds have been ours for 50 years. Families live there. Children were born there. You speak of justice. The Chancellor's laugh echoed through the chamber. You humans are newcomers. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 3,000 years. You will obey, or you will learn what happens to those who defy the tribunal. Back on Earth, Admiral Taiwan watched the broadcast. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his fingers drummed on the armrest of his chair. 58 years old, gray hair, steady eyes. He had seen war before, real war, not the small border conflicts the galaxy called battles. Sir? Captain Hana stood at attention beside him. Young, brilliant, barely 30 years old. What are your orders? We wait, Taiwan said quietly. We give diplomacy every chance. And if diplomacy fails? Taiwan turned to look at her. Then we remind them why humans stopped fighting each other. Across the solar system, General Dae-hyun sat in a bunker deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around him, holographic displays showed every human military asset, ships, weapons, soldiers, and other things. Secret things, things humanity had built quietly over 200 years of peace. They think we're weak, his aide said. Dae-hyun grunted. Good. Let them think that. He pulled up a file marked Prometheus Protocol. It had been created 100 years ago by military planners who understood something simple. Humanity had fought itself for thousands of years. Humans knew war in ways these aliens couldn't imagine. The galaxy had been peaceful for so long that most species had forgotten what real combat meant. How long until we're ready? Dae-hyun asked. We've been ready for decades, sir. Just waiting for authorization. On New Seoul, one of the colony worlds, the tribunal demanded people gathered in the streets. Sung-ho stood on a platform addressing the crowd. He was a simple man, a farmer who had lived there his whole life. His family had been among the first settlers. They say we have to leave, Sung-ho shouted. They say our homes belong to the Drexari now. What do we say? No. The crowd roared back. Our children were born here. Our parents are buried here. This is our world, the crowd cheered, but Sung-ho saw fear in their eyes. Everyone had seen broadcasts of alien military power. The Drexari Empire controlled 600 worlds. The Veloth swarm could darken a sky with their ships. What could humanity do against that? The 30 days passed slowly. Ambassador Jihu tried everything. He contacted every species in the coalition. Most refused to meet with him. Those who did offered sympathy but no support. The Drexari were too powerful. The tribunal's word was law. On day 29, Jihu returned to Earth. He walked into Human Command headquarters with his head down. Premier Insu met him at the door. I failed, Jihu said simply. No, Insu replied. You gave peace every chance. Now we try something else. They descended into the command center. Admiral Taiwan, General Dae-hyun, and 50 other officers stood around a massive tactical display. It showed the entire sector of space around human territory. Report, Insu ordered. The Drexari are mobilizing, Taiwan said. 300 ships gathering near the border. The Veloth are sending another 200. They plan to enforce the tribunal's decision by force. Recommendations? Dae-hyun stepped forward. We activate Prometheus. Show them what we're capable of. That means war, Insu said. They've already chosen war. Captain Hana interjected. They just think it will be easy. Insu looked around the room. Every face was grim but determined. These people had spent their lives trying to avoid this moment, but they had also prepared for it. Very well, Insu said. Admiral Taiwan, you have full authorization. General Dae-hyun, activate all protocols. Captain Hana, prepare the fleet. And the message? Taiwan asked. Insu thought for a moment. Then he nodded. Send it. On day 30, the Drexari fleet reached New Seoul. Chancellor Vex himself commanded the operation from his flagship. He expected a quick victory. Humans would see the overwhelming force and surrender. It always worked that way. His communication officer looked confused. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Human Command. Put it on. The screen showed Admiral Taiwan sitting calmly in his command chair. Behind him, officers worked at their stations. Everything looked normal. Peaceful even, Chancellor, Taiwan said. This is your last chance. Withdraw your fleet. Return to the negotiating table. We can still resolve this peacefully, Vex laughed. You dare give me orders? You will surrender, or we will take your worlds by force. Taiwan's expression didn't change. We tried peace. We tried diplomacy. We gave you every opportunity to avoid this, but you chose war. He leaned forward slightly. Since you chose war, let us demonstrate how it's done. The transmission ended. Vex turned to his weapons officer. Begin the attack. I want that planet subdued in 6 hours. The Drixari fleet moved forward. 500 ships, the largest military force assembled in 200 years. Their weapons powered up. Their shields glowed. They expected to see human defense platforms, small patrol ships, maybe some orbital stations. What they saw instead changed everything. The space around New Sol suddenly filled with ships. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. They had been there the whole time, hidden by stealth technology the Drixari didn't know existed. Human vessels of all sizes emerged from darkness like predators, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the silence. No threatening messages, no demands for surrender. The human fleet simply appeared and waited. On the planet below, Sung Ho and every colonist descended into bunkers built deep into the bedrock. These weren't simple shelters. They were fortresses carved from solid stone, with life support for months connected by underground tunnels that stretched for miles. Above them, Admiral Taewan gave a single order. All ships, execute Protocol Prometheus, show them what humanity has been building. Across human space, weapon systems came online. Secret satellites revealed themselves. Hidden missile platforms activated. AI-controlled defense grids synchronized. And humanity's military, refined through 10,000 years of fighting itself, went to war against an enemy that had never known true combat. The Battle of New Sol was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same.